My kid taught me what personal courage was before I ever had the right words to explain it to her. She didn't learn it from a book or any lesson that I had planned. I watched her walk into a new school on a random Tuesday in October when every friend group was already formed and every lunch table was already claimed. She didn't want to go to a new school. I saw it, but she picked up her lunch tray and found a seat anyway. That's personal courage at age 9. Hey, welcome back. I'm Soldier Mom, and today I want to bring the whole month of July home. This month we've talked about 1776. We've talked about the founders. We've even done an entire Forged in America episode on George Washington. We've looked at what the freedom cost and what courage looks like throughout history. Today, I want to talk to you about what it looks like right now. In neighborhoods like yours and mine, in school hallways and deployment goodbyes, and car rides where nobody talks because there's too much to say. Today, I want to talk about military kids. So if you haven't lived it, let me paint you a picture. Military kids move on average every 2 to 3 years. They change schools, they leave friends, sometimes best friends, sometimes the only person or people that really knew them. They start over, and then they start over again and again. They watch a parent deploy and learn, usually pretty young, to manage their fear quietly. Because they can see their fear makes it harder for the parent who's leaving. So they tuck it away, they smile at the airport, they hold it together in public. That is emotional intelligence that most adults spend decades trying to develop. And military kids do it out of necessity before they even hit middle school. They also grow up understanding something about the world that most of their classmates don't even recognize. And that's the comfortable, safe, ordinary life that they're living exists because someone chose to protect it. They know it's not some imaginary abstract idea. They know it because someone that is going on deployment is a parent, an uncle, an aunt, a niece, whatever that may be, but somebody close. So I want to be specific here because I think vague statements about military service are easy to make a nod at and move on from. I want you to actually see it. I've watched a military kiddo, maybe 10 years old, give their parents a hug goodbye at a departure ceremony. Then I've watched that child pull back from the hug, look their parent in the eye and say something like, "I've got this at home." Meaning, they're gonna hold it together. I'll take care of things for you. You don't have to worry about us. 10 years old. I've seen teenagers take on genuine household responsibilities during deployment. Not chores, I mean actual responsibility, managing siblings, helping with finances, being a source of emotional stability for the parent who stayed behind, being strong for someone when they themselves are scared. I have watched military kids make friends in September knowing they're going to move in June, but doing it anyway. Because the alternative, not letting one in, staying safe, or staying isolated, costs more than the goodbye eventually will. These are not extraordinary children. These are ordinary kids in extraordinary circumstances. And what they know about courage, what they've had to learn about it, is something most adults will spend a lifetime and a lot of therapy trying to understand. We've spent this month talking about people who built America. The colonists, the founders, George Washington. And one thing that struck me over and over during my research is how often the courage we celebrate happens inside families, not just on battlefields. Martha Washington chose to spend multiple brutal winters at Valley Forge. Nobody required her to do that. Revolutionary era children watched fathers and brothers march away, not knowing if they'd come back. The families who held it together at home were part of the war effort just as surely as the soldiers were, just in a different way. That thread, ordinary family members doing extraordinary things quietly, without recognition, because it was necessary. That's not just a historical thing. That is an ongoing living thing. Military families are still doing it right now in neighborhoods across this country. America at 250 has a lot to celebrate. One of the things worth celebrating is that this tradition of family-level courage never stopped. It just doesn't make the headlines. And I've seen that quiet courage up close, in my own car, actually. You've heard me say I was a military brat. My dad was in the Navy. So I've seen military kid life from both sides. I've lived it, growing up with my dad, and then I watched my own kids live it. And here's one moment where my kids showed me exactly the kind of courage we've been talking about this month and today. It was one of my deployments. I was leaving for a year, and the whole family piled into the car for the 45-minute drive to my departure ceremony. The same car we had just packed together. My duffel bag, my rucksacks. My kids helped load every piece of it. They knew exactly what those bags meant. But for 45 minutes, we talked about everything except for the one thing that was actually happening. We talked about school, we talked about sports. Whatever came up. Not one of them said, "Hey, Mom's leaving." Not one of them asked why. And by the way, the same kid from the lunch tray story I told a minute ago, she was in that car too. And here's what I understand now that I couldn't fully see back then. That wasn't avoidance. That was them holding the line. They were keeping it together so I could keep it together. My kids did that. Other kids do that. They do it for their mom. They do it for whoever is important to them that's deployed. We get to the ceremony. Guest speaker speaks, the whole family's there. And when it was finally time for me to get on the bus with my unit, that's when we all lost it. All at once. Because you can only be brave for so long before the truth catches up. And that's okay. That's how it's supposed to work. And here's the thing. I had done this before. As a kid on the pier watching my dad's ship pull out. So I knew what my kids were doing in that car because I had done it too. Nobody teaches military kids that kind of courage. They just kind of find it. The strength to carry something heavy quietly so the people they love don't have to carry. It's pretty awesome. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do with all that. If you have a military kid in your life, your own child, a niece, a nephew, even a neighbor's kid, a student in your classroom, I want you to tell them something this week. Not thank you for your service, because they didn't serve. Their parents did. But something like, I see how hard you work. I notice. And you're doing something really hard, and you're doing it well. Because they are. And most of them never get to hear that. When I get back from Nashville this weekend, I'll have a lot to share about what it felt like to show up in a room full of serious authors with a book called Personal Courage and try to actually live what I write about. Follow along on Instagram and Facebook for behind the scenes this weekend, and I'll see you next Thursday. Don't forget to subscribe, hit all the buttons, and drop comments about what you've seen is the most courageous thing that your child has ever done. I will read every single comment. I want to hear from you. Love you. See you next week.